Okay, now let's take a second to talk about coffee. Why? Because believe it or not, coffee can be used as an interesting case study for gentrification. Over the past decade, a number of what might be called high-end coffee shops have popped up in Durham on the periphery of Duke's campus. Among these are BU Cafe, Cocoa Cinnamon on Gear Street, Respite Cafe, Ninth Street Coffee House and Juice Bar, George's Java, and the other Cocoa Cinnamon on Hillsborough Road. Note that 4 of these cafes have opened in the last 4 years alone. For our purposes, we're going to analyze just 3 coffee shops, located here, here, and here, all of which have opened just in the past year. They are Ninth Street Coffee, George's Java, and Cocoa Cinnamon Hillsborough. Note that the length of this map is just over half a mile. As a backdrop to our study, let's draw our attention for a moment to the following sign hung up inside George's Java. Specifically the line that says that they serve specialty coffees prepared specifically for the Durham community. That sounds nice, but is it true? Does George's Java, or any of these new coffee houses for that matter, really cater to the quote Durham community? Let's find out by looking at the numbers. Durham's median household income is $49,585. Moreover, North Carolina's minimum wage is $7.25 per hour. This is the lowest possible amount allowed under federal law. Finally, 19.6% of Durham residents live beneath the poverty line. If you're doing the math, that's 1 in 5 people, well above the national average. Okay, so what does this mean exactly? Before explaining, let's get back to coffee for a second. A recent Gallup survey found that approximately 2/3 of Americans drink a coffee beverage every day, and of coffee drinkers, the average consumes about 2.7 drinks per day. So what can we make of this? Applying these averages would mean that a given consumer would spend over $1,100 at George's Java and Cocoa Cinnamon and $1,300 at Ninth Street Coffee per year. And by the way, this doesn't even include tip, which the register prompts for either $1, $2, or $3 on top of your beverage price. It might also be worth pointing out the fact that neither Ninth Street nor Cocoa Cinnamon list their prices online, not even hiding the fact that they are catering to a clientele that cares little about price. Finally, these numbers are only if you buy standard drip coffee, the cheapest drink on the menu. So what about specialty drinks? Here's a picture of the menu at Ninth Street Coffee that I took, which shows that after tax and tip, some of the specialty drinks can come out to over $7 each. And yes, that's for one drink. Now, I spoke with the full-time barista there, and she told me that she would estimate that about half of their customers will purchase one of these specialty drinks, and the other half will buy just normal drip. So the numbers I showed you before are indeed considerable underestimates. Oh wait, what does this have to do with gentrification? Remember how these are the 3 locations of those coffee shops? Well, the green arrows represent luxury apartment rentals, all in the same half-mile block of land, and all of which have gone up in just the last few years. These apartments all cost upwards of around $1,000 per month. And guess who inhabits them mostly? That's right, students, particularly Duke students. Here's a slightly enlarged map of that same area. The dotted square represents the map I showed you previously, and the contiguous dotted circle is an area right down Hillsborough Road where one can find a bunch more places to purchase coffee. You might indeed recognize some of the names. At Taco Bell, for instance, you can get a 20-ounce coffee for $1.49. So let's do a quick comparison. Person 1 goes to Ninth Street Coffee for his morning ink, and person 2 goes to Taco Bell. Over the course of the year, person 2 will have saved at minimum $660, and likely quite a bit more when we account for tax, tip, and specialty beverage options. But wait, does this type of coffee inequality exist at Duke? Our beautiful West Campus is littered with places to buy coffee. Among them are ABP, Joe Van Gogh, Bell Union, McDonald's, Saladelia, and Twinney's. This chart shows the relative price comparison of each of these vendors, with Joe Van Gogh taking the cake for most expensive cup of coffee at $2.47, and McDonald's, unsurprisingly, bringing up the rear at $1.28. Duke offers 5 meal plans for its West Campus residents, labeled A through E. The most popular plan is Plan B, which is $4,946 for food over the course of the year. And disclaimer, if you don't spend all of your food points, you do not get a refund. So let's put your morning Joe in perspective. If you frequent either Bella Union or Joe Van Gogh for coffee every day, you're committing 14 to 15% of your entire food budget on coffee, compared to McDonald's, which would be only 8%. Now, here's a map of West Campus. This area is Edens and Cohane Quads, which make up combined a little over 1,000 students, and this is Bella Union, the only place that serves coffee in the vicinity. This circle is the rest of the West Campus residential quads and represents around 1,700 students. These students have a great deal more accessible coffee options, including the cheapest, McDonald's. So again, what does all this mean? Well, if you're a coffee drinker who lives in Craven, Kroll, Kilgo, or Few, it's easy to get away with spending just 8% of your food budget on coffee, compared to Eden's or Cohane residents for whom, unless you're willing to go quite out of your way, will be spending nearly a sixth of their food budget on coffee. And if this seems trivial, over the course of a year that's a difference of $300. But what about if you're on the smallest allowable plan, which would be most common among low socioeconomic status students? At Bella Union, that would mean you'd be spending 16% of your food budget on coffee versus less than a tenth at McDonald's. Again, this is only if you're purchasing the standard cup of drip coffee. We should ask, is coffee at Duke under certain food plans prohibitively expensive? And so that got me thinking. Does Duke's geographical layout and food plan structure give some students a competitive academic advantage over other students? And secondly, does Duke have an academic and indeed moral obligation to provide free coffee for its students? It might be something to think about for our $7 billion endowment. A 2014 study out of Johns Hopkins University confirms what every coffee drinker knows, that caffeine has cognitive enhancing effects, both in the short and long term. So in finale, what does this have to do with gentrification? Well, if we think about the study of gentrification as an analysis of the relationships between geography, wealth, and cost of living, then Duke's own campus becomes an intriguing study about the negative, virtually invisible effects of gentrification. So chew on that, or rather, drink to it.